Hi there, folks. We're live. We are just waiting on Councilmember Gully and potentially our Corporation Council. Kim, can you text Jim Gully, please?
I can.
Thank you.
Would it be possible, this is Louis Brown from Vesta. We're on the agenda tonight. I hate to bother. I don't know who the originator was of the invitation. Ali Mashad in my office, for some reason, is not able to get in. And my name is showing up as Alexandra Mashad.
Okay, Mara can probably help you with that.
Did you, I had sent you guys the invitations, is that correct?
Yeah, but it looks like for some
Somehow
reason,
you clicked on hers? I don't know what happened. I mean, I'm asking, I sent you guys invitations, is that correct?
Yes, I'm not sure about that.
yeah, mine came through as Ali Mashad.
Okay.
Oh, I guess she's on the phone, but maybe she's muted, she said.
Is she a 80860 number?
Yes, okay, that's fine, so long as she can hear, that's fine. Thank you.
Can you let her in?
Well, just hold on 1 minute. I'm going to check and see if I can send her another invitation. I'm not sure what happened.
Okay.
So she's on as an attendee. It could easily just be shifted over. There.
Okay. We have Councilmember Gully. All right, I'm going to get rolling with this. And are you okay with that, Mara, or do you need a couple minutes?
I did just resend the invitations. I mean, they were to, both of your email addresses are correct, so I don't know how those got switched. It's very odd, but I did just resend them both.
Okay.
And we can also bump her up to a panelist if you need her later.
All right. We are going to get rolling. I hereby call the finance meeting to order, and I will ask, how about Councilmember Steele lead us in the pledge? And I apologize, our flag is upstairs, but I know we have a flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Councilmember Gully, and thank you, Councilmember Steele. All right, roll call. Councilmember Gully.
Here.
Councilmember Ash McPherson. Here. Councilmember Steele.
Present.
Councilmember Cummings.
Present.
Councilmember Zaluski.
Here.
Councilmember McDermott.
Here.
Council President Mantello's here, 7 present, 0 absent. Approval of the minutes. I will ask, I'll ask for a motion to approve the prior
Motion
finance
that we
meeting
approve the
minutes.
minutes as produced.
Thank you, Councilmember Zaluski. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The minutes are approved. Presentation of the agenda. We only have 3 items, 1 ordinance, 2 resolutions, and no one to speak at the public forum. No one is signed up. No local laws. Ordinance 8. Ordinance authorizing settlement of claim to wit Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company, ASO, Albert E. Passano, plaintiff, versus City of Troy, defending Council President Mantello at the request of the administration. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Ordinance 8 passes 7-0. Resolution 9, resolution of the City Council of the City of Troy authorizing the execution of a payment in lieu of tax pilot agreement by and among the City of Troy, Diamond Rock Terrace 1 LLC, and DRT 1 Housing Development Fund Corporation. Councilmember Zaluski, at the request of the administration. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Motion, Councilmember Steele. Do I have a second?
A second.
Second, Councilmember Zaluski. Discussion.
Council President,
Yes, Councilmember Gully.
would this be the piece of Diamond Rock that is looking, is this the one that's looking to move to the same deadline as the other one? I know there's two. One is 2026 and the other one is 2000 different, whatever, 2028. I'm just a little confused because I'm not seeing what I'm looking for.
How about we send it to Steve first, give a little explanation of this, Steve, and then we'll take it from there. Thank you.
Okay, so this is, I'm looking, and I'm not sure of the order too. I got to jump back. This is, the first one is Diamond Rock 1. So Diamond Rock 1 is the one that we're looking to, so I'll talk about them both in the same one, but Diamond Rock 1 has a current pilot expiration of 2024. And the request is to extend it out to 2028, which is the second resolution, or so it's coterminous with the second resolution, which is Diamond Rock 2. And then in 2028, they would both jump up to, instead of 7.35% net operating income after utilities, they would both jump to 10% for the final 5 years through 2033, which is the original term of the affordable housing contract with the state.
Yep. Councilmember Gully.
So this resolution, and I'm trying to read this. Is this saying that Diamond Rock 1 with the current expiration rate will, and it says current pilot expiration is 2024. It says HCR affordability agreement expires 2031. And then Diamond Rock 2 is 2028, and that goes to 2033. So this is not, this whole resolution is not only bringing them up to date with each other, but it's also encumbering the 5-year extension all in one package. Am I right?
Yes, that's correct. This is authorizing the pilot, which is attached to it, to do that.
Dave, you had brought up some information at the last meeting, and you know, first off, I want to tell the purchasers that I'm not against somebody else coming in there and creating a difference in District 1 and in the city of Troy, but I'm really not a fan of pilots in general, along with extensions. I think I had mentioned this before at the last meeting, that it's just not one of my things. If there's other options there, I want to see those things looked at and exercised. But I did state before that I would be willing to bring the two pilots to 2028. But I really wasn't in favor of the 5-year extension. I still stand at that point. And I noticed that there's an increase in the payment to 10%, but I don't know how that falls in line with another program that you mentioned to us, Steve. And I tried the other day and I tried again today to kind of verify some information on that 581 real property tax law. I believe you said it was New York State. And I could be wrong, but could you give me some information on that and what that value is? Because I'm really not in favor of the 5-year extension, but I would certainly entertain bringing the two pilots to the same end date in 2028, so that the new owners would have opportunity to address that in a year or two to bring that 5-year extension in. So if you could just explain that 581, so I get some clarity.
Well,
I'd
and,
appreciate it.
and I've never been involved in a 581. Just when I talk with Duncan Barrett in detail about it, I know the option is there for them, and I think that the original affordability agreement with the state was through 2033, and so when the city council approved this back decades ago, they knew when the end of this agreement was, and I'm not sure what the reason was for only making the pilot go so long, but I think they understood that at some point it would need to be extended. I could probably ask Vesta Lewis maybe to explain a little bit further on the other option, but again, I know I've had other entities requesting information about providing senior housing in the city as well, and this is affordable senior housing. So I think there's a need for the affordable senior housing. And again, this is something that's been, when it was originally authorized, we knew what the term of the city knew what the term was through 2033. So I don't know if Lewis could answer a little bit more about the 581, again, because I have not done one. I just know the options there, regardless for a way for them to be able.
Yep. Louis, if you could also introduce yourself, just so the public that's watching, etc. Thank you.
Sure. First, my name is Louis Brown. I'm with Vesta Corporation. As Mr. Gully said, we are the prospective purchaser of Tappan Rock Terrace phases 1 and 2. We are owners, managers, and developers of affordable housing. We've decided to approach this with a pilot extension for a variety of reasons, rather than availing ourselves of the statute that you're referring to, in large part based on our lenders' requirements. And the reason I say that is there's a distinguishing factor between a pilot and 581. With the pilot, we are setting what the percentage of the payment is now, and so the lender has certainty. With the 581, it's subject to some uncertainty. So a lender is not going to underwrite to a partial extension of the pilot and then the 581 statute, where there's not the same level of certainty from an operating expense standpoint. So that's why we've come in with the request that we've put before you, and certainly we appreciate the thoughtfulness of your review and also putting us on the agenda tonight. So as Mr. Strickman said, the request is to bring phase 1 to 2028 in line with phase 2, and then to extend both to be coterminous, the pilot to be coterminous with the 2033 affordability period, with the latter 5 years of that extension bumping up from 7.35% to 10%. And the reason that we've come at it that way is that is what fits with the kind of financial viability of the property, and that's what fits with our lenders' requirements.
Does that answer your questions, Councilmember Gully?
Council President, I have other questions.
Yep, no problem. Take it away. They're
Louis.
very good, by the way.
Louis, if you could help me out here, I mean, what's a road path look for Vesta? Let's just say there's not enough votes to get this extension, and you have that 581 as your option. Do you pursue that? Do you work at that angle? What do you do from here? Because I'll be honest, I'm going to tell you how I truly feel, because I don't want you to be any surprise, I've said this all along, I would certainly have interest in helping you to get that coterminous mentality through 2028. But I'm really not in favor of adding another 5 years of a slight burden to the taxpayers. It's just not, they've been through this for almost 30 years now, and it's just not fair to them. And if there's another option there that comes through the state, maybe this doesn't affect or have impact as much on the taxpayers of Troy. And I think I have to look at that. That's why I'm trying to find out the, more information on this 581, which was very confusing to look up today. So, where do you stand if, and I know you could easily back out of the deal, but let's say you want to move forward and you're at that line, what are your options to move forward?
To be candid, and I, as we discussed at the last meeting, I respect the position that you're taking. I understand where you're coming from, that it's a balancing act between, the taxpayer and your constituency, and your duty with respect to that. I think the example that I brought up previously was we are preservationists of affordable housing, and we think it's critically important to preserve this affordable senior housing for the long term. And part of that is by granting the pilot that we've requested. A couple other things I'd like to say that I didn't mention in my previous answer. One of the driving factors, and then I will answer your specific question about what we would do and potential next steps. I will get to that. One of the driving reasons behind this is that HCR requires that our first mortgage debt go out as long as the affordability period or the affordability restrictions, which in this case is 2033 has been discussed. And because of that, the length of that loan term, our lender will also require that the pilot go out as long as the loan term. Because as I mentioned in the last meeting, and again, just a few minutes ago, the lender will not underwrite to tax uncertainty. So pivoting to the question at hand, we would have to circle up internally and circle up with Mr. Ussolini, the owner of the property, and see if there's any other options. Right now, this is the path to closing on this transaction. This is the path to Vesta taking over both management and ownership of the property. This is the path to preserving this important senior affordable housing for the long term. And importantly, this is the path for Vesta to continue to, we always look to the extent that the employees are qualified, and we've met with the employees at Diamond Rock Terrace to maintain the seamless employment of those employees, again, to the extent that everything checks out from an HR standpoint, but it's always our intent to try to keep existing staff employed at the property, which I believe is a positive thing for the local economy as well. But to answer your question, we would really need to see whether we can financially make the deal viable, or whether our lender would even underwrite the deal in that way. To date, this is what they have requested and required of us.
I thank you for your response, and I like the fact that you would sit down with Mr. Ussolini after this is over, and maybe Mr. Ussolini could find a way to maybe support that 5 years missing through some sort of program with his pricing. I don't really know what your deal is, and I stay out of that, but so I don't know where you're at with the numbers, and you do. But I'm just saying that is an option. I want to thank you. I really want to hear from other council members, so I want to thank you for your time.
Okay, Councilmember Gully, we can come back to you too. Further questions? Other members have questions?
No
Okay,
questions?
if you'd like to continue, that's fine.
Well, listen, if nobody has any thoughts that they want to share, so I can understand where you're all at, I guess I'll just say it this way. And I don't know how much support I get because there's so much silence out there. But I would like to make an amendment then. I would like an amendment to the resolution that we would create the coterminous date of 2028 on the two pilots, and not have the 5-year extension on there, to be discussed later with either Mr. Ussolini or at a later date with another council.
Okay, let's try to narrow that motion, Councilmember Gully. Try to, so Mara and I could write this up. Repeat that a little slower, please. And try to condense it.
So I'll leave it simple. Just
Yep.
eliminate the 5-year extension from 2028 to 2033, but leave the ability to bring the two pilots up to 2028.
All right, so hold on. I'm gonna pull up the
Council President?
resin. Yep, Councilmember Cummings.
Sorry, I had a pressure cooker going off when I was supposed to be asking questions, but I am back now. Yeah, I guess in terms of amending, it sounds like, either we need to negotiate. I don't know that negotiating on the floor makes a lot of sense, but I was wondering if sorry to derail the process a little bit. I was wondering, can I just ask a couple broader questions before we start the amendment process?
Yeah, and maybe Councilmember Gully could look at the reso, chop it up how you'd like to amend it, while Councilmember Cummings is asking questions. Councilmember Cummings.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
So the first question is, what happens in 2033? The big thing for me here is, certainly I want to support the continued availability of affordable housing for our seniors. It sounds like that is already guaranteed through 2033 by the state. And so for us to put in more funding to help it stay that way, I'd want to see sort of a longer guarantee that it continues to stay affordable. Obviously, this is facilitating the transfer from one owner to another, but how does it facilitate a benefit to our residents and an ongoing affordability?
Is that
Okay.
directed at me?
Yep, go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Are you asking, just I want to be clear so that I can answer it appropriately, after 2033, what the plan is?
Yeah, I'm asking both that and am I right in understanding that regardless of what happens with this pilot, it has to stay affordable at least through 2033?
That is correct, though I think to Mr. Strickman's earlier point, it's curious that the pilot in its original conception did not do that, because you're dealing with kind of forces that are working against each other. You have the risk of increased taxes, but you also have limitations on rents. And so when we come in as a prospective new owner and we look at that kind of incongruous timing, where you have on the one hand, the inability to raise rents, on the other hand, the prospect of increased or at least a question mark at what those new taxes will be, we think that the responsible thing to do as long-term owners and preservationists of affordable housing, and I think I spoke about this at the last meeting, not only is it important for the residents and the financial viability of the property, but it's also important for the physical viability of the property. In order to make the necessary repairs, in order to maintain the building in the way that it should be for the residents, you need to make sure that the building is fiscally, financially sound. And so when we come in and look at the fact pattern that you have an affordability, as you as you noted, that goes out to 2033, but you have real estate tax uncertainty, in this case, 2024 and 2028 respectively. To us, that could create a problem. And so that's our approach. I think the approach takes into account the best interest of the residents, the best interest of the property, physically, financially, and by increasing the pilot ask on the extension to 10%, we feel like we are also giving something in return for getting something. And so we've tried to make our request as palatable and as balanced as possible, recognizing the important job that you have to make sure that you're being fiduciaries and fiscally responsible. On the other hand, also being responsible and responsive to the needs of seniors in your community.
Sure. Thank you. So I mean, it sounds like the current ownership structure has some challenges for someone like you to come in. Obviously, there is a public interest in a new owner that can, put some more investment into it. I think that's all worth supporting. But sort of, I'm trying to understand why so much of this comes out of the public pocket instead of out of, either the purchase price or the original structure. Obviously, it was structured in a weird way that didn't align and created some risk. Are you also is some of that coming out of the original ownership structure, or is all of that additional risk created by that going to be coming out of the public in this case?
Well, in my view, and the purchase price has been asked about a couple different times, so I'd like to just address that in the context of this discussion. We would still be faced with the same conundrum. The affordability period is to 2033. Regardless of the purchase price, our loan would have to go out to 2033, and therefore our lender would still want to see a pilot that aligns with those two things. So I'm not sure that would leave us in any better position than what we're asking for right now. And I think to answer your other question with respect to the public's pocket, I think what we are offering in return for a pilot is stability for the public, or for a segment of your public, namely seniors who don't have the means to necessarily pay for full market rent. We are saying we are going to preserve this asset, and we're going to preserve it in a responsible way. And in order to do that, we need the help of the city of Troy in order to achieve that goal. We can only increase rents to a certain point, and so we're limited in what we can do. And so it's always that give and take. You always have that natural tension that to contend with. But I think at the end of the day, the reason that the public will share, I don't want to say bear, I like to say share, because really it's a share in the cost, because the flip side is we are also doing a service to the public by preserving this in a responsible manner. So that's the way I look at it. I don't look at it as the public is shouldering the full burden of the pilot, because I think the public, if I think about it, maybe I could give a different example. If, for instance, the property was no longer financially or physically viable, then the public cost, the public may face a different cost. And that is, it could be a strain on public resources. It could be any number of things that will also cost the public. We talk about this a lot in our developments where we look at things holistically. We're also providing resident services at Diamond Rock Terrace. So if for some reason, and that's a very important thing for us to highlight, we have a budget in our operating budget, an operating expense to provide resident services here. And if for some reason the taxes went up and we could no longer afford to provide resident services, your residents might be tapping into public resources that come with those, that comes with a cost. Whether it's food insecurity, whether it's medical insecurity, we're providing resident services as a part of the operating expenses of this property. We're paying for those. If we were not, the city of Troy might find that as a cost somewhere else in your budget. And so all I'm suggesting is it's not, I don't think it's an either or proposition. I think it's complicated, and I respect the fact that it's complicated, but I think the approach that we've chosen to take here is balanced and it's reciprocal. And that's why I would ask that that you do consider, or Mr. Gully reconsider extending the pilot to 2033.
Council President.
I guess, sorry, before we pass the floor, I don't know what's going on, but you're muted, Council President. But
I
while
said,
I still have the floor.
I didn't know I was on mute, and I laugh at everyone else. Sorry about that. Councilmember Cummings has the floor. Councilmember Gully, you can go after. Thank you. Sorry.
Right. No, that's fine.
My son was yelling, so I put it on mute.
That's great. Just wanted to get back to a clear sort of what the process is to keep this affordable in the long term. Obviously, part of that is transitioning it to a developer like you that's focused on affordable housing. So I do see value in that. But what are the next steps? Will you be applying for an ongoing process with New York State after the 2033? When does that start? And is there any sort of guarantee or structure that can be put in this contract now that says that will continue to be the priority for this project?
That is something that we don't own strip malls, we don't own condominiums, we don't own retail. Not that there's anything wrong with those asset classes. We own affordable housing. We operate affordable housing. We develop affordable housing. So the intent would be that in 2033, that would be no different. Vesta and its founding principle have been affordable housing for the last 40 years. I've been with the company for going on 16, and this is all we do. And so that is what I'll say on that point. I don't know. I don't want to commit to something in 2033 today, but what I can commit to is our track record in history and what we do and who we are, and use that history as a lens into the future.
Okay. And from what I can tell, just before we get into the amendment process, it sounds like any amendments would basically just throw us back to the drawing board and renegotiation.
Again, sitting here tonight, and I think I mentioned it when we were on the call a few weeks ago when I was asked a similar question. I don't currently right now, knowing what the feedback of our lender has been, we would certainly have to go back to the drawing board. Yes. I would ask, that you take into consideration the points that I've brought up about resident services, the potential costs and impact in other areas of the city, and also look at it through not just that the taxpayers are giving something up, but that they're also, I think, these residents who live at Diamond Rock Terrace should also be considered in the equation and as a part of the the resident base in this district. So I would ask that they be included in your consideration. And again, that you take up the request on its face of extension to 2033 with the bump up to 10% for those 5 years.
Do you have an estimate on what the actual dollar value payment would be, the range of what that payment would be at that 10% rate?
I do. Ally, can you unmute yourself and speak to that?
It's a *69, is that correct?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great, thank you. The projected tax expense in that first year where it would increase to 10% is about $140,000.
That would be under the pilot agreement. You'd pay about that much.
Correct. Mhm.
Okay.
So
And that,
may I just make one concluding statement before you go to vote?
Yeah, we're not voting yet, but go ahead, Louis.
Okay, I'd just like to again thank you for your time, for your thoughtfulness in the questions, and I recognize the position you're in. In a prior life, I was a lawyer for the city of Boston, so I understand and appreciate these issues very much, and I understand and respect each of your decisions. I would just ask once again that you think about the residents and think about the benefit that we're providing the residents for the long term. Thank you.
Louis, I am hoping that you're not a Red Sox fan. Not that that would have any bearing on my vote.
I knew I shouldn't have said that. I actually, growing up, I was an Orioles fan because I liked the uniforms.
Jim Palmer.
Yes. Jim
Yes.
Palmer.
I'm huge sports fanatic. Okay, Councilmember Cummings, you're good?
I'm good.
For
I
now?
think this will be a helpful project. I think it'll be helpful to move it into these hands.
Thank you. Councilmember Gully, and then we'll wing it around if anyone else has questions.
Louis, I just have one question. I know we talked last time about your rents on each of the apartments and the affordability for them brings the cost down to the residents. But my question is, do you get subsidized on the other side for the rest of that money that you're missing on rents? Do you get any other subsidy besides the rent that they pay you on that piece, or?
So in some cases, a resident might have what's called a voucher, which would be a rental assistance, but it wouldn't go above the rents that we've showed to you. It would be as I said, a subsidy to the resident, but there's no project-based subsidy here.
So let me try to simplify that because I really didn't get clarity on that. So the one-bedroom apartment that I think last time you spoke, you normally get around $860 for it, and it's usually subsidized down based on the percentage of affordability somebody qualifies for about $450. So would the $450 be all you get on that apartment, or is there additional funding that you get from some sort of other, state or federal program that compensates you for the money that you're not getting out of that tenant that's giving you $450 on that $800 apartment?
No. Ally will correct me if I'm wrong, but no.
That's correct. Mhm.
You just get project financing and or whatever, the original support from the state, but no ongoing
We don't have ongoing.
balance sheet support.
All right, great, thank you.
Council President,
Councilmember Ash McPherson.
Steve, can you tell me on this property, they had a 30-year pilot originally, correct?
No, I don't think it was originally a 30-year pilot.
wasn't. So when Mussolini purchased the property, how long they've had this property for how long?
Looks like since 2002, right?
2002, I think there was one earlier. I don't have that information in front of me, but that's what we're talking about, is it didn't have the 30-year, it didn't have a pilot out to 2033.
Right. So my question is when you have a pilot, so if they did this in 2002 and they were going for a 30-year pilot, and during the course of those 30 years, it goes up in the rate on what they pay to the city, correct? In taxes?
Well, yeah, it goes
Okay.
up based
Yep.
based on the formula.
Okay. So since 2002, and you're looking at the 2000, if I was understanding everything, 28, it's only going to increase 10%?
No, well, no.
No, go ahead, Louis.
Oh, you want me to go?
No, I would rather you do it because you've got specifics on it.
So the percentage is, it's 7.35% of it's a formula. And what we're suggesting is in 2028 for the 5-year extension, that percentage goes up to 10%. So the formula changes from being multiplied by 7.35% to increasing up to being multiplied by 10%. So the real estate taxes will go up.
It
So
also goes up with rent.
Correct.
Council President,
Hold on one sec, Monica or Deputy Mayor?
I still have the floor.
Yep.
Kim,
you-
I'm
she-
answering- Kim, I'm
she
answering.
just wants to clarify something Lewis said, I believe.
It's a 10% of the net rent. So if the rent is $1,000, it's 10% of that, of each unit. So collective rents, so they total all the rents on an annual basis, and then it's 10% net after utilities of that cost is what we receive as income for the pilot.
Correct. And
Councilmember Ash McPherson.
So from 2002 to now, it's only 7%, correct?
Correct.
It's 7.35%.
7.35. And it would stay at the 7.35 until, say,
2028.
to 2028. Okay.
So
So
can I ask one more point of clarity from Louis, though?
Monica Kuzieski, Deputy Mayor, and then back to Councilmember Ash McPherson. She does have the floor.
So Kim, this will help you in your run there from your annual. So as the median income changes for the area, the rent also changes, correct, Louis?
yes,
Okay, so if it was $500 in 2002 and it increased to $600 in 2003, it would also subsequently increase based, because it's a percentage and it's a formula. So as the median area income rents add up and change, so does your value and what you're getting in your tax base too.
And if you look at the pilot agreement, it's a greater than 32,400 or 7.35%, and we're certainly well above that 32,400. So it has been going up.
So under this new ownership, supposedly, are you looking to raise your rents or keep them the same?
we showed you the pro forma. We have a 1% rent increase in year one. So if we say the average rent is, let's just for easy math say it's $1,000. So that would be a $10 rent increase. And then we have 2% rent increases thereafter. So very, very modest rent increases. Which, again, I understand there's multiple angles that you're asking the question. On the one hand, you could be saying, okay, well, if you're modestly raising the rent, then the tax, the incremental increase in the taxes might not be growing that quickly. On the other hand, why I think it's so important for us to talk about the residents and the profile of the residents, and what we're doing here is the intent of this is to preserve affordable housing to seniors who cannot otherwise afford to live elsewhere in market rate apartments. And so it's always a balance. We, as the owner, or Mr. Ussolini as the current owner, receive less income. In return, we understand that. And in return, we're asking, because we are limiting our rents, we are also asking for some relief on real estate taxes. And in this case, we've decided to increase that percentage to 10%, recognizing that we are modestly growing rents. So again, we think that we've come at this in a very balanced, and I don't like to use the word fair because fair is in the eye of the beholder, but I do believe at the end of the day, this is a fair and balanced approach, both from the property side and also from the city side.
Thank you. And I appreciate you giving me all the information and clarifying a lot. As Councilman Gully said, I also am not in favor of pilots. We have enough pilots that I see coming and going, and everybody's trying to pick up on the last pilot and continue it. My question is if this were to pass and go to 2033, so in 2033, you would come back again and ask for another pilot? So it's like a continuous pilot of going on?
So in 2033, I think, to Mr. Cummings' earlier question, if we were to redevelop the property, we would be extending the affordability out for another likely 30 years at a minimum.
Another 30-year pilot.
Well, I don't know what the pilot request would, but my point is, if we were to redevelop the property under an affordable program, we would be again providing an important service to the residents of Diamond Rock Terrace, because at some point, just like any of our homes or apartments come to the end of their useful life with things like systems and all things related to habitability, this too will need to be renovated, rehabilitated. And so the only vehicle to do that is through a redevelopment. And so I don't know what the programs are going to be in 33. The programs change, not all the time, but there are changes quite frequently to the different affordable programs. So there may be something else in 2033. And that's why, in response to the earlier question, I said I don't feel comfortable locking in. There have been important changes, legislative changes, both at federal and state level, just recently, that, you know, in 2033, there could be another program that alleviates the need for a pilot. So I don't know. And it wouldn't be fair for me to say, or transparent for me to say, yes, we're going to come back to you with a pilot request in 2033, because I just don't know.
Thank you.
Council President.
Sure. Councilmember Steele.
Thank you.
Yep.
Obviously, you know, in my other life, I am a tremendous advocate for affordable housing. If you look at the city of Troy, we have a huge need to promote in any way we can the development of affordable housing. We have a gentrification going on downtown with high rents that I can't afford. We need to think about the fact that our aging population is growing, it's expanding. And rather than taking away an existing facility that is functioning for its residents and doing a fine job for folks who are on limited incomes, fixed incomes, rather than thwart that, we should be encouraging that. And so I will not support anything that would take away from this. I want to thank them for doing this. This is how you do business. You have to encourage folks to develop affordable housing. Otherwise, why would they bother? Out of the goodness of their hearts? No. I mean, we give senior homeowners property tax relief. Why shouldn't we do similarly for those who are coming in and providing this service to our seniors who can't afford homes? Thank you.
May I make one point, just following up on Ms. Steele's comments?
You may, Louis.
And I thank you for those. I very much appreciate them. This morning, early, I participated in a United Way Zoom breakfast for real estate in Connecticut. And one of the testimonials given, and the theme of the breakfast was to end homelessness, and bringing in housing partners like us to strategize about how do you do that. And interestingly, one of the testimonials, actually the only testimonial, was from a senior woman who found herself on hard times and homeless, and ultimately in a shelter. And to her shock and disbelief, when she went into the shelter, she thought she was going to be the only senior person in the shelter. And what she found was the majority of the people in the shelter were seniors. And so when I talk about, and I don't want to be dramatic about this, but this is a reality. This isn't drama. This is real. So when I talk about the need to preserve, and that it's a give and take, and that it could be taxing on other resources, senior homelessness, I would argue, is much more taxing on a municipality than a pilot.
Thank you, Louis. Further questions, discussion?
Council President,
Yes, Councilmember Gully.
this question will go to either Steve or the Deputy Mayor. Do we know how many senior facilities we have in the city of Troy?
And I don't have an exact count on that number. I just know that from anecdotal information, there is a shortage, and I have been asked by developers or approached by developers about creating more senior housing. So I believe there is a need out there, but I don't know the exact number.
Well, I would say with the baby boomers, there is a great need, and there is certainly a good business there behind it. Okay. My question is, I know there's O'Neill, Kennedy, Byrne, and probably a few others, but do all of those facilities have pilots, continuing pilots?
Well, some of them have pilots through different sources. I know O'Neill has a pilot through the IDA. Kennedy is owned by Troy Housing, so there is no pilot on that. Yeah, go ahead, Mon.
Yep, so Burns, Kennedy, and there's other two that have city pilots. Plus there's one or two other ones that Steve might have done, and then O'Neill is on a city IDA. So even Troy Housing Authority has pilots with the city for some of their projects, as well as even, as we've seen lately, just even with the RAD conversions that they're doing. I think that, it's important to remember that, there are other ways to do it, but there are other projects in the city and those are all income-based, affordable projects as well too. I just wanted to, so I've seen this facility. My mom, everybody knows my mom moved here. So this was one of the facilities that we looked at for my mom. And if you have not been to the facility, I encourage you to take a tour, because it is beautiful. It is really beautiful. And they'll tell you, and they'll show you the people's apartments. And this one woman who lives in the main building has a stunning apartment, and they're really well built, and they really are well managed. They do great programming pre-COVID, and hopefully after COVID, there'll be some great programming. They run the Sunshine program there as well too. Hopefully that will continue. But I think that as we plan for the city, just as exactly what Councilman Gully would just said, is that there is going to be a need for us to look at our senior population. Aging in place is a very big conversation in the planning circles. How do we matriculate people to age in place, whether it's like a Carondelet that's over the river in Latham, or being able just to make sure that people have the affordability at all levels, whether it's market rate all the way down to a low income component. So
I'm not going to be rude if you could wrap it up. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm all set. I just wanted to make sure that there was other pilots, but then also, in support of this. It's a good project.
Yep. I would like to ask further discussion, questions. We are, just so you know, going to break after this vote, go into the regular, or actually what we'll do, we won't have to go into the regular council meeting. We'll have Kathy Sheehan, who has to be out of here at a certain time because she has a retirement gathering. So saying that, do want to continue this. I do have some questions before we break and turn to Kathy. Louis, I get it. We all support senior affordable housing. I have been up there, Monica, you're absolutely right. I have a couple of friends whose parents live up there. Couple questions, Louis. I'm switching gears, not obviously the emotional side of it, more the financial side of it. Should this go down, you're in the middle of acquiring the property. Is your acquisition hinged on this particular pilot, or would you still go forward with the acquisition?
Yeah, as I said earlier, we would need to circle up and see if there's a viable alternative at present, and with Mr. Ussolini. At present, this is the path towards closing. I don't envision at this point, and we've, when you're looking at an opportunity, you're looking at the different what ifs and wherefores and ways to potentially put the transaction together, and this is the most viable. And so right now the answer is this is what we need in order to move forward. I will say, and it's related to, I think, your question in terms of the finances. If you look out in terms of what the 10% tax burden, if you project it out to, I think it was $140,000 annually, our research of into looking at other burdens on market rate properties, it's not terribly dissimilar. So I know that you went through a list of other properties that benefit from pilots. I also think it's worth pointing out that under this pilot, we are paying close to, or will be paying close to, under the 10% formula, what a market rate property with unlimited rents is burdened with. And I think that that's an important point to make. I think that the word pilot comes with it a connotation that for some reason we're not paying kind of our fair share. In fact, we are. We're setting a formula to it. But in this case, when you look at the formula and what it translates into from a dollars and cents standpoint, it's not that far off from a market rate property, though it is constrained in what we can do in terms of rents. So I think that that's an important point to bring up, and I apologize for not having highlighted that before.
Okay, that's fair. I apologize. We are in the middle of a vote, and I am going to ask for a motion to break from that vote and switch gears. We have a visitor with us who has to leave, and I think it's very important in light of our passing the Black History Month in the city of Troy. Kathy Sheen from the Rensselaer County Historical Society, who has to break off. So I'll make a motion to break from this particular vote. I'll make a motion. Do I have a second?
Council President?
Yes, Councilmember Cummings.
I mean, it seems like we're pretty close. We could just pass this through finance and then discuss further at regular.
I don't want to do that because I'm on a roll with my questions.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I made a motion. Do I have a second?
Sure, I'll second that. But your
Thank
roll
you.
has been interrupted.
Thank you, Councilmember Zaluski. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, Sue. Councilmember Steele. Breaking now. Thank you, everyone. We have a great visitor with us, and this evening we are passing a resolution which we'll read later on. And it also is very fitting, is Rosa Parks' birthday today, February 4th. And I did just want to state a quote from Rosa Parks that I thought was pretty neat, and certainly very timely. Memories of our lives, of our works, and our deeds will continue in others. Now I will pass it along to Kathy Sheehan, who's going to talk about Black history in Troy. And I thank you again, Kathy, for joining us. You're on mute.
There we go. One of these days, I've been doing enough Zoom. You'd think I would get this right away. Thank you so much for letting me speak. And yeah, it's very exciting that we are able to do some little promos every day. If you go to our Instagram page, you'll see a lot of the breakdown of our exhibit that we currently have up in our library lobby. And of course, with COVID, we haven't been open, so it will continue to stay up. And it's been fascinating, the information that we have been now acquiring over the last few years. When Carmela asked me to do this, and she mentioned Harriet Tubman, of course, which we all know about Harriet Tubman. Really psyched that Harriet Tubman's probably going to get on the $20 bill, I hope, which would be really wonderful. And she certainly was a force when she came into Troy in April of 1860 to help the rescue of Charles Now. It was kind of dumb luck that she ended up in the city. What I wanted to tell you a little bit about today, there were some of the other people who are a little lesser known, but that we've been now researching through amazing archives, particularly the Troy Savings Bank. We received their early archives. The bank goes back to 1823, and the bank was a force for all of these kind of social justice organizations. And one of them was the Troy African Female Benevolence Society. People like William Rich's wife. There was a Peggy Williams who had a great, she had a boarding house down on Liberty Street, not too far from where the Liberty Street Presbyterian Church was. And she would advertise in the local papers about, come in when you're coming into Troy for the abolition conventions, and to go at the Liberty Church and hear Frederick Douglass, who was here in Troy many times, stay at my place. And so it's been really interesting to research these women who we've known very little about, but we're finding out more through their money. You might have heard this through the years or not, but the very first depositor in the Troy Savings Bank was a Black woman by the name of Martha Jefferson. And she deposited $25, which was not a small amount of money in 1823. General Wool, we all know about General Wool. Well, one of his servants who had really been a former slave, he freed that slave. She was also a depositor at the bank. There were many other ones now that we're starting to track down. There's two women by the name of Mary and Ada Boseman. Now, their father and their brother was very much involved in the rescue of Charles Now. But Mary and Ada Boseman were two teachers that ended up being graduated from Troy High School. They had to fight their way through it. They didn't want them, the high school was segregated at the time in the 1850s. They didn't want them there, but they pushed their way in. And they graduated, got their teaching degree, and they were teaching at the William Rich School, which was over on State Street, right near the police station. If you're familiar where the Trustco Bank is over there, it was in that location. And Mary Boseman goes on to become a superintendent down in Washington, D.C., not unlike our famous rescue of Charles Now. Charles Now's son goes on to becoming, here's the son of an escaped slave, goes on to become a superintendent in Washington, D.C., never knowing what his father went through. So all these little snippets of stories are now starting to come together. It's very exciting for us. Of course, the Baltimore family, we know a lot about Garnet Douglas Baltimore. He's the first Black graduate of RPI, but his father, Peter, and his grandfather, Samuel, they were very much involved in the Underground Railroad movement here in Troy. Peter's wife, Garnet's mother, she was involved in the Troy African Female Benevolence Society. And the Female African Benevolence Society was located, they had offices in the Athenaeum building. You know where Slide and Dirty is on First Street. The parking lot, the city parking lot that's right across the street, that was the Athenaeum and the YMCA. And the Athenaeum was right there. Right to the north of it, where the senior housing complex was, that was the Troy House. That was the site where all of these freedom seekers would get off the boats. And it was a boat from Pliny Moore Grain Elevator Company, just down around Washington Street. He was part of the Eastern New York Anti-Slavery Society. They would come off the boats. He would send them up to Peter Baltimore, up at the Troy House. He would get them jobs around locally, or just get them clothing, shelter, food, and a way to keep continuing on up to Canada. It depended. By the time people got in Troy, they felt pretty safe. That's what happened with Charles Now. So these are just a few of the stories. I think next month, I'm going to invite myself next month, if I can, to talk about women's history, and we can get that. But I hope you will come down and see our exhibit, and we'll keep looking at our posts, because we have some interesting new tidbits that are coming up every single day. So thank you for giving me this time to come in and do your meeting, and have a great night.
Thank you so much, Kathy. I think on behalf of all the council, there's so much history here in the city, and we thank the Historical Society and yourself for just telling that history and bringing us back to incredible, incredible days here in the city of Troy. Thank you.
It's a great city. We have a lot to be thankful for, and thank you to all of you for all you do.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thanks, Kathy.
All right. I will take a motion to get back to our resolution, and I'll put a motion on the floor. Do I have a second to re-enter to resolution 10 of our council finance meeting?
I will second your continuation of your role.
Thank you.
Excuse me, you haven't voted on, did you vote on resolution 9 yet? I think you're still on resolution 9.
I'm sorry, resolution 9. I apologize.
I thought maybe I missed it
Resolution
somehow.
9. I'm already jumping. See that, Lewis? We do have a motion, second discussion, re-entering resolution 9. All in favor?
Council President,
On the discussion, or is that a vote?
on the discussion.
Okay, 7 ayes. We are back into discussion, but I apologize. I do have the floor, and then we'll go to you, Councilmember Gully. I only have a couple of quick questions. Lewis, I did look over the capital plan that you provided us, and I thank you for that. $400,000 in various capital infrastructure improvements. Is that over a 10-year period? I saw the 400K. Is that what's the time frame of all that?
That's a good question, and thank you for it. That gets funded right up front at the initial closing, and we try to deploy it as quickly as possible, because like anything else, time is money, and so you want to deploy those funds into the property so that they're really doing what they need to do in the quickest possible time frame. So typically, we're looking to deploy, and I have the budget. I have another computer that I'm looking at, so I'm not looking away from you. Looking at these, some of it we'll do right away. Some of it might be you need to wait for a resident to move out of a unit in order to do certain of the work, but the short answer is we do it as quickly as possible, not over a period of years.
Okay. And I recall there was a Times Union article last year about the property potentially going into bankruptcy, and EKB or EKB acquisitions were involved. Are they no longer involved? And is this a straight sale between the prior owner and yourself?
Yes, I'm not familiar with what you're referring to, but.
Okay. Yeah, there was a Times Union article. And I think just lastly, I noticed in the proposed contract agreement that there's a 40-year cap. And so I believe, not 2002, Steve, but 1998, the pilot was entered into. So I guess 40 years from that would be 2038. So there is potential at the 2033. I guess my question is, in the proposed agreement, is there a 5-year extension after the 2033 potential or no?
We have not presented that, no. And I think, and I'm glad that you highlighted that 2038 date, because I think what that says and what it underscores is it was contemplated that there would or could be a pilot going out further than for phase 2 2028 and certainly for phase 1 2024. And so I think our ask of 2033 is reasonable in light of all of the things that I previously stated, but now in particular, and I appreciate you bringing that up in light of what you just said.
Okay, thank you, Louis. Councilmember Gully.
Council President, I'm going to withdraw my attempt at an amendment to shorten that based on the communication from other council members.
Okay, fair enough. Further discussions, questions? Okay. Louis, Steve, is there anything we're missing before I call slow roll?
Other than to just say thank you again, and I appreciate everyone's time and the thoughtfulness of your questions. And please know that in Vesta, you will have a responsible owner and property manager on a going forward basis. And that's not suggesting otherwise in terms of Mr. Ussolini. As people have already stated, that the property is very, very well kept and has operated very well and in the best interest of the residents. And we hope to be able to do that going forward. We think that we can. So thank you.
Thank you, Louis. I thank you for honestly answering a number of questions that many of us had. We appreciate that greatly. Further discussions, questions? Okay, I'll call slow roll. Councilmember Gully.
Louis, I appreciate your time and your information tonight, and I appreciate all the hard effort behind this process. As I told you in the beginning, I'm not really a pilot guy to extend the pressure on the citizens of Lansingburg. Diamond Rock is in my area, so I know it very well, and it is a nice place. I do appreciate that. But my thought is something you said was that if we didn't pass it, you will go back to the table with Mr. Ussolini and try to put something together. And my thought is that when you came in the door, you knew what the pilot program was, you knew it was in front of you. And I would hope you would have done that in the beginning before you came to us, and maybe we could have saved a little aggravation. I'm certainly, my heartstrings, I am going to be a senior. Right now I'm a teenager, but someday I'm going to be a senior and I might need a place to stay, and I understand it and I have a value for that. But unfortunately, I can't vote yes tonight on this, only because I feel that there could have been better negotiation and maybe a tighter tolerance to what you brought to the table. So I'm going to vote no.
Okay, Councilmember Ash McPherson.
I'd like to say thank you. There's a lot of information that was given out here tonight. Everybody knows how I feel about pilots, and a lot of information was given and a lot of clarity was stated. We all know that we need affordable housing, and we need it in all different areas, in North Troy and South Troy and even downtown. We shouldn't be gentrifying and pushing everybody out. I guess right now as I'm going back and forth on this, and I guess I'm going to say that I will vote yay for this at this point. I'm still going to be thinking as we go into our regular meeting as well, but I'm going to vote yes for this right now. Thank you.
Councilmember Ash McPherson, I appreciate that. Councilmember Steele. I know Councilmember Steele is having internet issues. Councilmember Steele.
Can you hear me now?
We sure can.
Okay, I apologize. I've lost internet. So I think pretty much as I said before, very much in support of this, and I encourage other developers to follow suit. We desperately need affordable housing and affordable housing, particularly for seniors. So to encourage this project and maintaining it, I am very happy to vote yes.
Councilmember Cummings.
Yeah, just want to thank everyone for going through all the numbers with us. Obviously, it's an involved process and there's lots of factors to consider, but overall, it sounds like we've got a very good partner here and looking forward to working with you into the future. So I vote yes.
Councilmember Zaluski.
Interestingly, I find myself unable to add much more to the conversation. I will vote aye.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember McDermott.
I will also vote yes.
Thank you. You know, on my vote, this is a real tough one. Of course, I don't think any one of us does not support affordable senior housing. You know, my concern, I am concerned about the future of Diamond Rock, and if this didn't pan out, the potential for the sustainability in the future of Diamond Rock Terrace. Additionally, on the flip side, the original developer entered into an agreement, and that agreement was for a set period of time. And the concern is the precedents that this could potentially set for other pilots. And the concern is other pilots expiring, maybe they're on the verge of bankruptcy or whatever. They want to get out of that particular development, and they do a similar potential extension. So it puts a lot on the council because you say no, you're against senior affordable housing, but we're not. For me, it's not about pro-senior affordable housing or con-senior affordable housing. It's about the developer originally went into an agreement in 1998 for so many years of a pilot, and now a new developer who is going to, or a private entity is going to buy the property, is asking for an extension. It's a tough one because I am very concerned about the residents and the sustainability. I'm going to vote to put it to the regular meeting, but I gotta tell you, this is, I've been in the council for a few years, and this is a tough vote because I'm not a pilot fan at all. So I'm gonna vote to put it at the regular. And Louis, I thank you very, very much. You were very candid and very forthright with the numbers, etc. So I vote aye. We have a 6-1 vote to put it at the regular meeting this evening, and we'll go on to Resolution 10. Bear with me because my computer, after all of that, ended up signing off. I apologize. Come on. Technology, I can't wait till we're in person. Resolution 10, resolution of the City Council of the City of Troy authorizing the execution of a payment in lieu of tax pilot agreement by and among the City of Troy, Diamond Rock 2 Terrace, Diamond Rock Terrace 2 LLC, and DR2 Housing Development Fund Corporation. Council Member Zaluski, at the request of the administration, do I have a motion?
I can't motion.
So moved. So moved.
Motion.
Councilmember Steele motions. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Councilmember Zaluski, discussion. All in favor? I'll take a slow roll. Councilmember.
Chair,
Yes,
Chair.
discussion. Sorry, Councilmember.
just brief discussion. All my same concerns with Resolution 9 are also with Resolution 10. So I don't think I really need to get a discussion of it. I'm going to say yes to bring it to the regular meeting and just still make a decision at that time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Further discussion? Okay, I'll take a quick slow roll. Councilmember Gully.
Again, Louis, this is nothing against you and your company. I'm not going to support the position of the pilot. I believe that there could have been better negotiation and maybe this was the easiest choice, but not the only choice. But I'm going to at least give you opportunity to think about that to the regular meeting. But for now, I'm going to say no.
Thank you, Councilmember Gully. Councilmember Ash McPherson.
I'm going to say yes right now.
Thank you, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Councilmember Steele.
Yes.
Thank you, Councilmember Steele. Councilmember Cummings.
Yes.
Thank you, Councilmember Zalusky.
Aye.
Thank you, Councilmember McDermott.
Yes.
Okay, Council President Mantello, yes, to move it to the regular meeting, 6-1 vote. I will now take a motion to adjourn, and if we need 2 minutes, 3 minutes to hit the restroom or go right into the regular, I'm open. I'm okay going right into the regular.
Motion with a
Motion
2-minute
to
break.
adjourn.
Okay, motion with a 2-minute break. Councilmember Gully, do we have a second?
Yep.
Thank you, Councilmember Zalusky. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? See you in 2-3 minutes.
Sorry, Ken, I just wanted to beat you to the punch on one thing tonight.
No problem at all.
Hello, everyone. It is 7:28 and we'll wait for folks to come back, wash their hands, all that good stuff. Okay. I think we have everyone back. I will now, Jim, Councilmember Gully, if you have your flag, I would welcome it. And I would also ask you to please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance and honor us. Thank you. You're on mute.
Just a male thing. Hard to do 2 or 3 things at once. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, I don't know if folks remember Councilmember Doherty at the end of the pledge, but every meeting he would yell and vocalize and justice for all. And I miss that. It was really, really neat. Mara, if we could do a roll call.
Councilmember Gully,
Here.
Councilmember Ash McPherson,
Present.
Councilmember Steele,
Present.
Councilmember Cummings,
Present.
Councilmember Zaluski,
Here.
Councilmember McDermott,
Here.
Council President Mantello.
I am here.
7 present, none absent.
Thank you, Mara. Our vacancy list is at the end of the agenda. I will now ask for a motion to approve the prior minutes from the January meeting.
Make a motion that we approve the January minutes as produced.
Thank you. Councilmember Zaluski motions. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Mara?
Sorry, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
No problem. Presentation of the agenda. We had 3 items past finance this evening. We had a finance 2 weeks ago where the other items have also passed. Public forum, nobody has signed up. Local laws, none. Ordinance 2.
Ordinance amending the Capital Projects Fund to allow for the closure of multiple capital projects. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance 2 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Thank you, Mara. And just for folks who are watching, there was much discussion on many of the ordinances and resolutions this evening at the finance meeting. So if you see us going through, please refer back to the finance. Ordinance 3.
Ordinance amending the Capital Projects Fund budgets. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion. I did want to check on Councilmember Cummings with, just so folks are aware, 75K for the 10th Street Park, Old 6th Ave Park, and the neighborhood meeting for Old 6th. Councilmember Cummings, is that coming along at all?
No, it is not.
Okay, do you need help?
I suppose I must.
Mara,
Yeah,
can you help
let's set up
try
a
to
call
move
on that.
forward with a neighborhood meeting for the Old 6th Ave Park? We'll reconnect at a later date, okay? And I really want to get this going. Ishan's parents have reached out, just wondering the status. I did tell them that funding is going into the Old 6th Ave Park. They could not be more thrilled. But I did tell them the neighborhood meeting would be forthcoming.
Council President?
Yes,
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Just a clarifying question. So the funds for that are for the park improvements, and then is the NIP money that you were talking about in addition to that as well too? And then that is the Ashawn signage, I think is what you were saying?
Correct. Yep.
So I think, so part of the process of what we wanted to kind of do with the park improvements was be able to, you know, pull some community meetings around some of the parks that we were talking about, just to find out that if we did switch out playground equipment, what do the kids want to see, like that kind of stuff. So in addition to what you're probably thinking about, we'll probably follow up with one as well too, in a bigger capacity as far as the entire park as well. So just to put that out there.
That'd be awesome. I would love to merge the two. And while you're having that community meeting, we could broach the subject of the Aishan Place sign or tree or whatever is decided. Thank you. Thank you. Councilmember Cummings, you're off the hook.
Collaboration always makes everything easier.
Further discussion?
Yeah, Council President?
Yes, Councilmember Zaluski.
Just briefly, I'm probably forgetting this. Is there a breakdown between the parks, how the amounts will be allocated?
For this money?
Yes.
No, it was a request. We're waiting to see what the retaining wall price comes in as for the 10th Street Park, and then that will indicate what we have as well. And then there's also some CDBG recreation funds as well, in addition to the 2 million that you guys approved through the capital plan.
Okay, so no specific breakdown yet.
Not yet. We're waiting for the bids are out right now for the wall.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good question, Councilmember Zaluski. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance 3 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 4.
Ordinance authorizing the city to create a capital project and amending the capital projects fund budget to allow funding for said capital project. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Steele. Andy, this is the DPW gas tank removal, about $1 million, and the deputy mayor gave us a timetable, and I apologize, I forget when you said that was supposed to start, Monica.
So they're developing the scope of work now for the DPW facilities, and when they go out to bid for the capital improvements for that we talked about, the new facility, it'll be done at the same time frame. So this year, just not quite sure when we're ready to go out to bid yet.
Thank you. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance 4 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Thanks, Mara. Ordinance 5.
Ordinance authorizing the City of Troy to accept grant funding from the Northern Borders Regional Commission for infrastructure work at and around One Monument Square and amending the Capital Projects Fund budget to appropriate funding from said grant. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Steele. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance 5 passes, 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 6.
Ordinance authorizing settlement of claim to wit, Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company, ASO Kip W. Sheldon Plaintiff versus the City of Troy Defendant, Troy City Court Case Index Number CV 2789-18. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion?
Council President,
Yes, Councilmember Cummings.
I had a question on these for Rick, if you have
Sure.
a second.
Rick?
While he's
I'm
getting
here.
unmuted, the core of the question
Here he
is,
Okay, I'm here.
when we negotiate these payouts, I guess we're primarily negotiating with the insurance company. Is that correct? And how does our driving a hard bargain negotiating these affect the actual residents impacted versus the insurance company?
Which, I'm, pardon? Oh, for the settlement, you mean?
Yes.
Yep.
Rick.
Okay,
yeah, when we settle these sort of things, are we taking that out of the resident that was impacted by the situation, or are we taking it out of the insurance company's payout?
it's, the insurance company is subrogated to the resident, meaning that they stand in the resident's shoes. To tell you the truth, in most, I can't say for every case, but in something like this case, the insurance company's claim was, I don't have the memo. Let's see, the memo in front of me. It tells you exactly how much their claim was, which was just shy of 10,000, I think.
Yeah, 10,796 bucks.
Right, and in this case, we had really good defenses. Okay, so I mean, we didn't really cause the accident so much as the driver did. The insurance company repaired the car.
Okay.
Okay, does that answer your question?
That does. And I guess just in general, well, yeah, no, I think that answers it entirely. Thank you.
I mean, in some cases, our defenses may be a little bit weaker, but in this case, I felt it was a very strong case. However, I think the amount of the settlement was reasonable in all the circumstances.
Great.
Any further discussions, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance 6 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 7.
Ordinance approving a granted easement to Niagara Mohawk Power Corporation and Verizon New York, Inc. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
A motion?
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember McDermott. Discussion. Just quickly, I know, Monica, you had talked about the timetable for the Campbell F. Bridge.
Yeah, so that is a construction project for this year. I think we're getting ready to go out to bid either in the next couple weeks or in March. So we'll get those that pricing back.
Cool, thank you. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance 7 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Ordinance 8.
Ordinance authorizing settlement of claim to wit Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company, ASO Albert E. Passano plaintiff versus the City of Troy defendant. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion?
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, he beat you to the punch, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Councilmember Gully, discussion? Rick, I noticed on this one that our driver said he struck the parked car when he veered too close to it in an attempt to avoid entering the bike lane.
That was his explanation.
Okay.
You're not supposed to drive in the bike lanes, and he was driving the recycling trucks are a little bit wide, and that's what he was driving.
Yeah, okay. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance 8 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
All right, we are finished with the ordinances. Resolution 3.
Resolution proclaiming the month of February 2021 as Black History Month in the City of Troy, New York. This is sponsored by the entire council.
Thank you, Mara. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Please indulge me. I'm going to read this. Whereas Black History Month was founded by Dr. Carter G. Woodson and was first celebrated on February 1st, 1926. And whereas since 1976, Black History Month has become a nationally recognized month-long celebration held each year during the month of February to acknowledge and pay tribute to African Americans and their achievements. And whereas this month-long celebration commemorates the extraordinary efforts, accomplishments, and victories of African Americans in their long endeavor to develop and promote equal opportunity and social equity throughout the United States. And whereas Black History Month is a time to celebrate the memory and strength of spirit of those people of color in our nation's history who triumphed over adversity and rose above their social circumstances to build dignified lives for themselves, and in so doing, left an honorable cultural legacy for those who follow in their paths. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Troy City Council commends the African American community and does hereby proclaim the month of February 2021 as Black History Month in the city of Troy, New York, and be it further resolved that this month and throughout the year, we commit ourselves to raising our awareness and appreciation of the histories and cultures of our nation's people of color, and may their American spirit continue to enrich our daily lives. And thank you to Kathy Sheehan, who I just could listen to for hours. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Resolution 3 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Resolution 4, I am going to make a motion to amend Resolution 4 to add 4 names, that being Shelley Fenton, Hannah Hoffman, Teresa Russman, and Harry J. Tatunjian. Do I have a motion to amend Resolution 4?
Motion.
I think you made the motion. I'll second.
I'm sorry, I did. Motion. Do I have the second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Discussion on the amendment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? On the amended resolution? I'm sorry, go
The
ahead.
amendment passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
On the amended resolution, do I have a motion?
The motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Resolution 4 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
Okay, Resolution 5.
Resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a 3-year agreement with the Benadio Group to provide independent auditing services for the fiscal years 2020, 2021, and 2022. Council President Mantello.
Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Discussion? Andy, you are going to bring us a preliminary report at the February finance meeting, correct?
Andy had to step away, but he did make a comment that in 2 weeks he was presenting information to you today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. And April will get the final. Thank you. Hi, Andy.
Hello.
Hi. So we'll get a preliminary report on the fourth quarter in February, and then April we'll have the full blast, correct?
Yes to February. Hopefully April.
Okay,
I'll call you.
fair enough. Thank you, Andy. Also, did you know, I know we received at my other hat the AIM numbers. Have you received the final AIM numbers from the state? The proposed, I should say, I apologize, proposed.
I have seen the proposed higher than what we budgeted for, but let's see what the final budget is.
That's right.
And what they
Right.
do. 'Cause I have a feeling there'll be some changes to it. That's just what my gut tells me.
Hopefully they go up with some federal money.
Hopefully.
Okay, thank you, Andy. Further questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Resolution 5 passes 7 ayes, 0 noes.
All right, thank you again, Andy. Resolution 6.
Resolution 7.
I'm sorry, I am scrolling. I apologize. All right, resolution 7.
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Troy calling on the New York State Legislature to pass and the Governor to sign a bill creating private property tax abatement for improvements to certain residential and mixed-use property. Councilmember Cummings at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
The motion?
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Steele. Discussion?
Council President.
Yes, Councilmember Zaluski.
So I spoke with Steve earlier this week. We have confirmation that the other piece of this, that $75,000, or is it 70,000? I think it's $70,000.
It's 80,000. So
$80,000, okay.
it's a 421F. It was adopted in 2005, local law number 1, signed by Mayor Tatunjan, and it's for 1 and 2 family residences or anywhere in the city.
Anywhere in the
Across the
city, yeah.
Yes.
So, getting that confirmation, I'm more comfortable supporting this, which is in designated census tracts. It's a bigger impact for people in those areas, but at least across the city, we know we have a good program. It was passed, it is in effect. I don't think a lot of people know about it, and that's going to be all of our job, both the city officials and city council, to get the word out about these programs. But they're good things for our residents, and hopefully at some point in the future, I'll even be able to take advantage of it, because we definitely have work to do on our house. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Zaluski, and I say ditto to everything you said and double ditto to the ongoing capital improvements at our personal residence. Further discussions, questions? I will, just for the record, I have to recuse myself. I am legislative director for a state senator who I advise on various legislative bills. So due to potential appearance of conflict, I have to recuse myself. So further discussion, Councilmember Cummings.
I believe the text of the proposed law currently says 70,000. Do we need to amend that, or can that be amended in the future with the state?
No, the Council President?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the proposed, the 80,000 was for the existing 421F, the legislation written for the 45.
No, yeah, the question is, do we want this program to start where that one ends, or is it okay for them to overlap?
Well, they're different programs. One is for 1 to 2 families, and this is up to 4 families. So they're separate.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with the overlap. Then that's intentional.
Thank you, Councilmember Cummings. For the record, not the state legislation. I fully support this program. Further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And I recuse.
Resolution 7 passes, 6 ayes and 1 abstention.
Thank you. Resolution 8.
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Troy calling on the New York State Legislature to pass and the Governor to sign a bill to amend the Troy IDA Enabling Act. Councilmember Zaluski at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion. Councilmember Cummings. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Councilmember Ash McPherson. Discussion? Once again, I have to recuse myself on this particular piece of legislation. And I do just want to say, once the two, Resolution 8 and Resolution 7 and Resolution 8 are introduced, they'll get bill numbers. They'll come back to the council. The council will have to pass the home rule for those bill numbers, and then hopefully they'll be acted on. So just process. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And I recuse.
Resolution 8 passes, 6 ayes, 1 abstention.
Thank you. Resolution 9.
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Troy authorizing the execution of a payment in lieu of tax pilot agreement by and among the City of Troy, Diamond Rock Terrace One LLC and Diamond Rock Terrace One Housing Development Fund Corporation. Councilmember Zaluski at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
So move.
Motion, Councilmember Steele. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Zaluski. Discussion?
Council President,
Yes, Councilmember Ash McPherson.
I just want to say, you said earlier that, you had a few hard decisions to make. Well, this is one of the hard decisions I've had to make for affordable housing to approve to go through. And while I do say, yes, we do need more affordable housing for our seniors, this isn't a new pilot. This is asking for an extension of a pilot, something that goes back to 1998, I think you said. I am not a fan of pilots, especially extending pilots. You want to come into our cities and spend some money and improve our areas and help our seniors. Yay, I'm all for that. I think that's great. With that said, I've been struggling all night back and forth on this, and I'm concerned with Diamond 1 and Diamond 2. I'm concerned is if this doesn't go past, and you do have your votes to do it, but I'm just to go through what's going to happen to our seniors, because you made some comments as to, you don't know what's going to happen, where they're going to go. I'm just very concerned with that. And so with this, I am going to vote in favor of it because of the concern of that I have with Diamond 1 and Diamond 2 going, what's going to happen to them if it doesn't. But like I said, this is not a new pilot. This is an extension of a pilot. So I just wanted to say that, I will be voting in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Further discussion, questions? Yes, Councilmember Cummings. You're on mute.
Sorry, I realized that. Just in direct response to that, I think, yeah, we're all trying to minimize pilots to the extent possible. But I think there is a philosophical difference that I think all pilots seem to be getting lumped into one. Some pilots are pilots that support the development of large new projects. And those ones are the ones we have to push really hard to negotiate the best possible deal on. Others, such as, and have them expire quickly and have them increase the tax base quickly. Others, as we've seen a few this year, the city pilots are generally very much more based around long-term support for affordable housing, for recognizing that if we want to have this sort of housing available to our residents, we have to, sometimes it's an actual reduction in the amount they pay, and sometimes it is more about the way in which the financing works at the state level, where they need certainty and they need consistency. And so, I think it's important for us to understand that this is not like most pilots. This is a pilot that's designed to create that stability and allow for long-term financing and allow for long-term support for affordable housing. So I think it's a very different sort of thing than just giving a tax break to a developer to do a project.
Thank you, Councilmember Cummings. Further questions, discussion, comments? Okay, take a slow roll. Councilmember Gully? Mara, sorry.
Councilmember Gully.
Announced twice. That's pretty good. I appreciate that. Again, what I want to say is this. First off, the vote I give is not based on my passion or my understanding of what our senior needs or what our affordable housing needs are. Certainly not. My vote is based on the fact that I felt there could have been better negotiations before coming to the city for the pilot between the buyer and the seller, knowing that the buyer knew what the program was in front of them and expecting this expansion is just like the easiest way, and I understand that. And I respect it, Louis. I respect what you guys are doing. It's your business. You know how to do that. And you make good money doing it. And you help a lot of people in your process of creating your business. And I respect that. I just think there could have been better negotiations. I'm not against seniors. I'm not against affordable housing, in case there's anybody out there that interprets this differently. I want to be clear that my no vote is only based on I felt there could have been better negotiations in the process for coming to the council with this program. Mr. Ussolini has tried a couple times with different people. We've gone through this. I think he should be on the forefront of the negotiations when it comes to selling his property. So that's the way I feel. I'm voting no for that specific reasons. I know you have the votes. I appreciate it. I'll look forward to seeing the growth up there, but I can't support it based on the technicalities, not the process.
Thank you. Councilmember Gully.
Councilmember Ash McPherson.
I've said what I needed to say. I know you said in the first or the beginning of this, you're looking at $400,000 that you're going to get to redo some of the property, some of the apartments. I'd really like an invite to come up there and see what you're going to do to help protect our seniors. For the record, I work in the healthcare field and work for our seniors. So I'm really going to hold your feet to the fire and make sure you take care of our seniors. So I'm going to be voting yes.
Councilmember Seal.
I sort of echo what Councilmember Cummings said about pilots. They are, in many cases, necessary in order for us to be able to provide affordable housing, and in particular, in this instance, for our seniors. I mean, I can't go back to when this first came about. I wasn't on the council. I don't know why they didn't offer a longer pilot at the time. I might venture a guess that it wasn't politically advantageous. The word pilot seems to have bad mojo. But at any rate, it's important that we maintain the facility and that we continue to provide affordable housing for our seniors. And so for that, I vote yes.
Councilmember Cummings.
Yes.
Councilmember Zaluski.
Aye.
Councilmember McDermott.
Yes.
Council President Mantello.
As I mentioned earlier, this one I did struggle with, as Councilmember Ash McPherson I know also did. And, you know, I've been very critical of pilots at various levels and various agencies. But I have voted for one or two during my prior terms. And, you know, this one, the 400K over that long a period of time, I would like to see a little more invested, and I imagine hopefully more will go into the property outside that 400K. Additionally, my vote, it's not, as Councilmember Gully and others have stated, a pro or con. We're all pro senior citizen affordable housing and senior affordable housing. It's a necessity. It's where all of us are going to be someday, some of us sooner than others. But saying that, you know, I've been up Diamond Rock. My major concern is the sustainability of the grounds, of the buildings. And obviously we don't want to put our seniors in jeopardy. And I am concerned if this doesn't happen. I'm concerned what direction it could go in. As I mentioned, it's a really tough one for me. But at the end of the day, I am very concerned about the future of DR1 and DR2. So I am going to vote aye.
Resolution 9 passes, 6 ayes and 1 no.
All right, resolution 10.
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Troy authorizing the execution of the payment in lieu of tax pilot agreement by and among the City of Troy, Diamond Rock Terrace 2, LLC, and Diamond Rock Terrace 2 Housing Development Fund Corporation. Council Member Zaluski at the request of the administration.
Do I have a motion?
So move.
Motion, Councilmember Steele. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Zaluski. Discussion?
Council President,
Yes,
I'm
Councilmember.
just going to say I have all the same concerns that I had with Resolution 9. So I'm just going to give you that.
Thank you. Further discussion, questions?
Council President.
Yes, Councilmember Zaluski.
Yeah, this one is just really hard to support. And I'm just kidding. They're pretty much the same as far as I'm concerned, so I'll be supporting this as well.
Thank you, Councilmember Zaluski. Further discussion? Okay, and I as well have the same concerns as I mentioned in Resolution 9. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Councilmember Gully, you're on mute. Councilmember Gully, your vote?
No.
Resolution 10 passes, 6 ayes and 1 no.
All right, that concludes our agenda tonight. Good meeting, everyone. Very robust conversations, and thank you. And I'm sure we'll be talking very soon.
Council President,
Oh, Councilmember Cummings.
I have two things before we end. The first is just to congratulate and thank the mayor and the deputy mayor for their hard work on the seawall funding. That was a good announcement today. Very, very welcome news. And the second, I was wondering if we could take a second to go through the vacancy list and just get updates on where, is that an easy thing to give an update on now, or should we wait for a future meeting, Deputy Mayor, on where we're at with each of the hiring processes?
Just let me pull it up.
Here, I can screen share it if that'd be helpful.
Page 90.
Yeah, if you want to screen share it, that's good. Then everybody can see what we're talking about.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right. Well, the legislative assistant is ours. That's on hold.
Yeah.
I don't see it yet. Hold on. Okay. The data communication analyst, that is the one that is actually funded. We'll have to revise that one because that one's actually funded later in the year. I think it was July.
Right.
With the new budget. Police officers, I believe that they're going through and looking at the next section of the civil service test now, I believe, doing their callbacks and stuff. We can get an update from that from Chief for you. The video clerk, I know that they've been looking for that position.
How is that? I know I didn't notice it on the city website. How is that process? Is it a list that they're canvassing?
I'd have to check to see if there's an active list and what the numbers of people are on them. I can do that for you to find out and when I say an active list, that means that there's 3 or more individuals on the list. If it's under 3 individuals, or if there's less than 3 eligible, then it's not an active list and they can open up the hiring. So I can check on the video clerk for you.
So if it gets opened up, then it's listed on the public website and
yeah,
sent out.
Canvas. Yep.
Somebody chimed in. Was that you, Andy? Okay, I had thought that
It
somebody.
wasn't me.
Okay.
We'll get you an update on the fire department. The assistant code inspector and the housing code technicians, we're actually waiting. The last I knew, we were waiting for the lists. It's a little bit weird right now for training purposes as well because of COVID. Because all of the inspectors have to complete their state certified training. And it's a little weird because it's kind of online and it's not very functional. So I know that those positions are still there. I know that the list, they were waiting to see if they got certified. I can get you an update on those as well.
Okay.
I'll get you an update on the general services. I know the labor position, and then in addition, the other labor positions, as soon as those are open, I think that was another one that was March, I think we gave them for the budget. They're getting ready to fill all of those as well. The planning technician is delayed.
That should be coming up pretty soon, though, is it? How it's,
Yeah, I think it was March or April too.
so has the hiring process started there?
I don't know, Steve, are you still on the call?
I do not see him. No,
Okay,
he left, Monica.
Okay.
We'll get enough. I'll call him.
Yep. The assistant planner, we just have to find out from Carolyn where they're at with that. That's been kind of one that's been hanging there for a little while. I don't know if they don't have an active list or not. The solid waste litter enforcement officer, we're looking at a couple options right now. That's the new one. I know that they were talking to a couple people about that one as well. And I believe that one also went out and was canvassed publicly.
Okay.
Auto mechanic helper, that's at DPU. That one's actually been open for a little bit. We can get an update from Chris on all of his openings, various openings.
Okay.
Is that all?
And then not listed here are the two
Youth
youth coordinators.
The youth services coordinators, those were approved. We'll get those out. I think she sent them out, but if not, she will send that. We'll get those out so that we can canvass over the next several weeks. We are looking at making a few moves at City Hall to accommodate all these lovely new people. We have the new litter patrol officer. We have the new personnel person who starts in April for all of the compliance parts. So we have a lot of new people coming in, which is fabulous and great. And we have the account clerk for the sanitation department. But we also need to take a look at our facilities and make sure that we can put them all in place. And then also the new BIS person as well too. So those youth service coordinator positions will be out. Gabrielle's position will be out. And then the account clerk, we'll have to check the series of the account clerks to see if there's a valid list for that as well. Yes, Sue.
Yes.
Were there,
Councilmember Steele.
is there also a recycling specialist or something like that?
Yeah.
I'm not sure the title exactly.
Yeah. So, so I'm sorry, it's not the account clerk, it's the recycling specialist is the new position. I got them flip-flopped. So yes, that's correct. No, because when we were looking at the facilities, we said that we were going to move the recreation or the account clerk over into the treasurer's office because a lot of people call the treasurer's department with questions and stuff like that. So that way there would be some interaction amongst the treasury staff as well as the account clerk for the sanitation department.
Council President?
Yes, Councilmember Zalewski.
Monica, since we have your attention, you tried something new with the kind of, I would say, proactively declaring the snow emergency. How did all that work out?
Yeah, that was horrible. I will be really honest with you, and I'm really glad I was not on the news last night. So it was, I will tell you, when we came in on Tuesday after we had declared it, Wednesday, Thursday, right, Tuesday when we declared it at 8 a.m., I kid you not, Chuck came to me at noon and said, we are going to have to tow over 1,000 cars. Yeah. We tried to be proactive about it. Our officers, we actually had our parking enforcement officers go and do the ticketing and towing, as well as the plow operators, beeping horns, asking people to move. They were being sworn at. They were being yelled at. I almost canceled the snow emergency because it was just something that it was horrible. And I just think that this is something that we do to make sure the streets are cleared so that we can make sure people have places to park. And for the residents to turn around and treat the staff the way that they did is just ridiculous. It's actually unheard of. I was shocked. And so I think that that's something that, I think in continuous improvement, right? I always look to do that. And we did this with this storm. And I had said that the last storm, we want to try to declare it a little earlier so that we can get ahead of it. So the next storm, which we know we'll have another one, probably around Valentine's Day.
Sunday.
So we'll probably look, if it's 3 inches or more, we'll probably declare the emergency ahead so that we can get people to move their cars. So it'll be done before the snow actually flies. We'll remind people multiple ways in various media so that we can make sure the word gets out, because it will help. It will help the plow drivers and it will help them Because if we can clear one side of the street ahead of time and then ask them to go park in the clear section, we can actually plow out the other section that they shovel out. So it should create more efficiencies and actually help speed up the process of especially if we have to do snow removal. It should help that process, but not when we have to tow 1,000 cars. We don't have the tow companies for that. We don't have the resources for that. And the time it takes to ticket and tow and then to try to plow, we wouldn't even be able to get down 2nd Street.
Right.
In that kind of period of time.
I think it was, I think it was just a lack of notice. It's just not enough time. I think the notice came out for the snow emergency around 9:30 the night before. That's not even, 12 hours before the actual snow emergency. So I think the idea has merit, but probably just a little more lead time.
Right. I mean, it was really frustrating on Tuesday with the crews because the snow had essentially tapered off. And so they were ready to go. And then they were just met with this big wall and they were pretty frustrated. And, and they can't, I mean, Joe Martin, I have to tell you, Joe DiNardo's out. Joe Martin did a tremendous job. He rallied. He was pretty frustrated, but he turned back around. He got a plan together over yesterday and today, and really kind of turned it around, got the crews moving, got the tow operators on board and the ticket writers on board, and really kind of moved it along. But one of the things that was really interesting to me is that when the police came with their sirens and with their lights and with their bullhorns, the people responded. But when we show up with our services department and we ask them to do the same thing, they tell you to bleep off. Right. So I think so as we're looking at this bigger context, right, we have a really big conversation going on right now, is we need to think about that as a community. If we want to minimize interaction with police departments, we have to make sure that there's the respect of the other departments who step in to take over some of this work, to make sure that we can get the response that is needed as well too. So just because it's not a police officer doesn't mean that it isn't important. So it's a lesson for our community as well, because if we're going to talk the talk, we need to walk the walk.
Well, I've received, I would say probably 6 or 7. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember Zaluski, you still have the floor.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Yep. I received, Monica, I was going to email you, probably 6 or 7. I actually asked Councilmember Gully. I was just swamped to get a hold of Chuck on one of them, but some folks in the Berg in South Troy were saying, the tow trucks are here, the plows are here, but they're not towing people. And maybe hence the answer is because there were too many, I guess. That's what you're saying, correct?
Well, it depends. I mean, it depends on what day it was. I don't know when that was or what day it was or what the circumstances.
Wednesday, what's today, Thursday, so yesterday. But, saying that certainly notice is important. Obviously all of us are out and about on social media and, just talking to folks and trying to encourage folks to comply. But saying that, I do think the notice has a lot to do with it. I do think if people see the enforcement, I do know some folks who are very upset because, they saw them come through, but they didn't see it enforced. So maybe when they see the enforcement, they'll comply a little better. And, I would think most folks obviously welcome it with open arms because obviously you need the streets plowed. And then secondly, you did mention minimize the interaction with the police. I'm sure you meant just in terms of trying to utilize our police more efficiently. And, we totally agree on that.
Well, I mean, and the logistics behind it, and I made this comment on one of the Helens of Troy page yesterday, is most people don't understand the planning and the logistics that has to go into that snow emergency process, whether it's just plowing or it's the snow removal. I mean, that's a whole nother ballgame, is once you have to line up all the contractors and all of that kind of stuff. But I think it's the piece of the logistics that people just don't understand. And going back to what you just said, is it's just the awareness of it. is the timing, the planning, like evaluating the streets of where you start and where you don't, you know what I mean? And those kinds of pieces. And, and it is, by having to pull in the police department, we absorbed more overtime and more costs for that, because you can't take the officers out of the zones. You have to bring in an extra detail to do that. So instead of using the crews we were already paying for overtime, we brought in the police officers for overtime, which was worked and it was well, and it was great, and we got through it. But again, looking at the efficiencies and the most economical way to approach it, we need to figure that out, and, and realize that there's some give and take that has to happen. And you know what? The next time it'll be better, just like it was this time. The next time will be better.
Yep. Real quick, somebody did message us and asked me to just some suggestions. As you mentioned, Monica, be prepared, vehicle maintenance, all of that. Partner with local business owners who have large parking lots to get cars off streets. Maybe schools would also be a participant. In October, have a snow emergency drill. I like that idea, well publicized, et cetera. Advanced signage, possible pre-treatment for hills and some more dangerous roads, and have a city on lock for tow vehicles to be stored. The city could use the storage fee money to go back directly into snow removal. And lastly, maybe have an employee suggestion box where the men and women have been doing this for years to make suggestions. Just somebody wrote that in. I think it was very helpful. I must tell you, when I was first elected back in the 90s, when I was 10 years old, seriously, 25, 26, Gene Bouchard was the DPW commissioner. He fought me tooth and nail on a snow emergency plan. And then eventually, after 2.5 years, I finally got him to agree, and he would only do it in certain parts of the city. I understand the planning that goes into this. I applaud our DPW and DPU crews. They literally, just work their hearts out. Thank you to you and Chuck. I just know the tremendous amount of work that goes into it. And we are here to assist, help, et cetera. And I thank the person that sent in these suggestions.
Council President?
Yes, Councilmember Ash McPherson.
I just like to direct something to Louis. Louis, I'm serious. I'm going to give you my email, and I'd like you to reach out to me so we can make sure we're in touch and going through the same things and staying on the same page.
Yeah, I noted that next to your name.
It's Kim Dot.
Yeah, just give me 1 second, please.
I'm very sorry, but I'm going to be there.
And she will, Louis.
We welcome it, and we welcome feedback and collaboration and partnership. So that's what this is about.
Yeah,
And,
it's Kim Dot McPherson.
Hold on 1 second. Sorry, I'm just trying to get.
I can send an email to both of you right this minute, because I have both of your emails.
Perfect.
And I'll send an email right now, and that way you'll have each other's contact. Okay.
Perfect. And I'm sorry. I'm just going to make sure that you know that I'm still here. Thank you.
I appreciate it. And I didn't want to interrupt the previous conversation. I just wanted to say thank you again to everyone, including Mr. Gully. I appreciate everything that you said, and I respect it. So thank you. Thank you for your consideration, and we look forward to becoming a part of your community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to sign off. So thank you very much.
See you, Louis. Okay, further discussions. We could talk snow all night.
Maybe we'll have a meeting for that.
Yeah, sorry to bring it up, but.
Councilmember Steele.
I'd be happy to make a motion to adjourn.
You look very comfy there, by the way, your recliner. Okay, we have a motion to adjourn.
I'm the oldie of the group here, I'm Granny.
I thought Gully was.
No,
Second. I'll second it.
Oh, we have a motion.
Terrible Granny.
Further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night, everyone.
Aye.
Bye.